I'm just gathering my thoughts. Hello peeps, welcome back to the channel. This is the third time trying to record this because I recorded it one time and then I was like, I could do it better. So then I recorded it a second time, then my camera ran out of space. So here we are again, third time. No, just three. Yep, I can do math. Today is a fun day because we're talking about poetry, and I love poetry a lot. So this is going to be a lot of fun getting to chat about it. I have wanted to talk about poetry for a little while, but I haven't got around to it yet, so I thought, you know what, today seems like a good day to chat about poetry. So that's what we're going to do. I have always written poetry from when I was quite a young child. I used to get pieces of paper, staple them together, you know, as you did, to create the pretty professional looking book, and then I'd write my poems inside. Back then, the poetry I wrote was very much sort of inspired by probably nursery rhymes, children's poetry, very rhythmic, very rhymey, you know, that sort of poetry, very much like that, and the subject matter was usually flowers or like nature, just talking about, describing nature usually, or I'd make up some funny story about a person or a bubble or honestly I can remember some random ones. So poetry, I've always written it. My style of poetry writing has changed since I was a child, obviously. I now write poetry that is a lot more, how do we describe it? It's just not as rhythmic and rhymey, and I'm kind of exploring into different things, like metaphor, what is it called when you just... Anyway, I'm not going to try to think of the terms because then I'm going to make a fool out of myself. So yeah, I'm just exploring different kind of ways to write poetry, and all of my poems now are definitely a lot more focused on emotion, because when I was younger it was more just about describing a thing, whereas now, even if I'm describing something, it has emotion tied to it, just because that to me makes it more personal. So that's kind of a little quick thing about my writing history, poetry. Yeah, I just love how poetry is so fun to play around with words, themes, topics, subject matter. It's just really, really awesome getting to delve into beautiful words and phrasing, and it's so lovely. It's also awesome, I think, because I can finish a poem in one sitting, and that for me is really rewarding. It's very different from writing a novel where you have to go back at it time and time again and spend like weeks and months finishing one project. That is very rewarding as well, but with poetry it's like quick little rewards, you know, like I can finish something quickly and have a poem to read that is finished. So that's also why I love poetry. It's something that I can do. It doesn't have any pressure tied to it. With books I often feel, you know, you have to finish them, so there's more pressure involved with actually finishing it. Whereas with poetry, I can sit down, just relax, and know that I can easily finish a poem. So yeah, poetry now for me is definitely more based on emotion and not so much on description and storytelling in poetry, because there's narrative storytelling sort of poetry, which is like, you know, telling a story, you know, those poems where they're actually, some of them are pretty funny and I love those. But it will definitely have descriptions in it, but it will definitely have a lot of emotional over top of it, a lot of emotion over top of it. I just saturate everything in emotion, because for me, I guess I write about my emotions, not about a thing, and then the things are kind of more tied to describing that emotion. I have written some narrative poetry. I think one time I wrote just a short narrative poem, because it was something that I was doing for school. And then I think I've written a few other narrative pieces of work, but the ones I can remember definitely have very strong, like, emotional overtones, like themes over top of them. They aren't just a story, they have a lot of other things in there. I've definitely kind of swerved more towards lyrical poetry, which might be because of my songwriting. I think the two go very hand in hand, because songwriting is technically poetry, in a way, I think. The only difference is obviously with songs, you have the melody and the musical side of it, like audible musical side of it, whereas poetry, you just don't have the music, it's just speech. I think it's probably helped me having the both of them, and I think it's probably why I write poetry, because of songwriting, and songwriting because of poetry. They both kind of lend themselves to each other. Yeah, I think my process for it's pretty similar, except obviously there's just the added element of coming up with a melody for songs, but otherwise I just sit down and just start writing. I don't really plan at all, really, ever, with anything that I do. Honestly. So yeah, it's getting very hot in this car, like the sun's coming in and I'm kind of like overheating and I'm really hungry, so I'm gonna go have lunch and enjoy this beautiful sunny day. And I'm gonna send you off to watch the poetry reading with hopefully some pretty video footage. Thank you so much for watching me chat about poetry for a bit. I hope this was interesting or inspiring or valuable in some way. I really appreciate your time. And keep being awesome. Till next time. See ya. Swinging. 12th of February 2020. Long lush moments in the sky. Fading, they all softly pass me by. Closing my eyes and pretending I'm above, with the clouds and the wind and the turtle doves. Holding on to nothing but a chain. Cold and hard and rough it was made. Further it goes, the man-made snake, higher than any distance my arms could make. Looking down, I don't see a thing, apart from a long black string. It's nothing really, just a path, leading down and down to our world dark.